The following is a compilation of videos from my 100 films in 100 days challenge that I'm doing over on my other channel, The Film Lounge. So recently I set myself a challenge. 100 films in 100 days. Over the next 100 days, I'm going to try and watch a film every single day and adapt it into a short review that I'll post online and eventually adapt into a TikTok video. The rules of this challenge are as follows. I'll watch one film a day for 100 days and make a short review and or TikTok short about it, unless it's physically impossible for me to do so for whatever reason, obviously. Rewatching films I've already seen is acceptable, and there is no restriction on what films I can watch. Anything goes. So that does mean that if I'm pressed for time, a short film will work just as well as a feature film. So, with that said, let the challenge begin. 100 films in 100 days. Day 1. The Sacrifice. After watching Stalker, I felt compelled to check out Andrei Tarkovsky's other films, and to be honest, The Sacrifice did not disappoint. Though I will admit that I was a little bit lost and confused throughout this film, as it's quite cryptic and dreamlike, much like Andrei Tarkovsky's other films. I think that's very much by design. This film always has the audience questioning what's going on and what exactly is being suggested, though somewhere in the confusion, there are themes of sacrifice, religion, and regret. Overall, although I was definitely confused by this film, I was also moved and inspired by it, and I consider this film to be pretty great overall. 100 films in 100 days. Day 2. Last Night in Soho. I'd wanted to watch this film when it came out in the cinema, but sadly I never got the chance. I wish I had done though, since this is a rather excellent art house psychological thriller cut from the same cloth and featuring many of the same motifs as films like Black Swan, but with added time travel and mystery elements to keep things interesting. The twist ending and added criticism of blind nostalgia are interesting additions too. Also, I have to say, usually I think that shooting digitally is a better choice for films, but in this case, given the film's narrative and theme of blind nostalgia, I think shooting on film was a rather excellent choice. 100 films in 100 days. Day 3. Dog. I decided to go to the cinema to watch this film, and to be honest, it's okay. It's nothing great, but it's still a sweet story about the developing bond between a soldier and a dog, both suffering from PTSD. The only thing that I would say is that sometimes this film's transition from moments of comedy to moments of seriousness aren't always handled the best, which can give the impression that the film doesn't know how serious it wants to be. But otherwise, this is a very sweet and touching story about a man and a dog, and I'm sure that any dog lovers out there will love this film. 100 films in 100 days. Day 4. The Great Hack. This documentary covers the malicious ways that Facebook and Cambridge Analytica collected user information. What makes this documentary particularly interesting is that it goes into the real-world consequences behind the data collection. It also covers the people on both sides of the fight for data protection rights, as in, it covers the human aspects of this whole thing. It also makes data collection companies seem scary, but let's be honest, that's not hard, is it? 100 films in 100 days. Day 5, Super Size Me 2, Holy Chicken. I never knew that Super Size Me had a sequel, so I had to check it out. This film is very different to the original, but still makes fast food look terrible. Although I would say that this film is more upsetting than shocking, unlike the original. This documentary mainly covers the abuse and lies in the fast food industry. The only criticism that I have is that sometimes this film's tone isn't really appropriate for the subject matter. 100 films in 100 days. Day 6, Solaris. I decided that I'm going to watch some more of Andrei Tarkovsky's films. Solaris is an absolute sci-fi masterpiece that provides a more human and thought-provoking take on sci-fi than is usually seen in the genre. And for that, I have to give it major credit. This isn't a high-action sci-fi film, and it isn't Stalker as I thought it'd be either. Instead, it's its own kind of masterpiece, and for that reason, you absolutely have to watch it. 100 films in 100 days. Day 7, Jojo Rabbit. I decided to re-watch Jojo Rabbit today, and wow, I forgot how excellent this film is. Not only is it an amazing film that will make you laugh and cry, but it's also an incredible allegory for growing up and outgrowing old beliefs. Truly, this is an amazing film that you shouldn't pass up on. 100 films in 100 days. Day 8, Fire, the greatest party that never happened. If you're active online, you've probably heard of the Fire Festival, a disastrous attempt of creating a musical festival for rich influencers on a private island. Usually it's seen as a laughingstock, but this documentary dives deeper into the nitty-gritty of this situation, and it shows the poor planning and con artistry that went into this festival. This documentary is definitely an interesting watch. 100 films in 100 days. Day 9, Shiny Flakes, the Teenage Drug Lord. I don't really have much to say about this one. I've been wanting to watch documentaries at the moment, and this one kind of caught my eye, so I thought, why not? It's quite short, let's watch it. It's about a teenager who was presumably inspired by the Silk Road. The presentation on this documentary is fine, and it's interesting enough, but it's nothing exceptional really. 100 films in 100 days. Day 10, The General. I have to say, this is an amazingly well made film, and its huge budget for the time really does show. Unfortunately though, all of that was for nothing because this film glorifies the Confederates, which is obviously completely unacceptable, so for that reason I have to say that this film isn't really worth watching.